Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to a continuation of I'm kind of calling it like a Wildstorm spotlight for a couple of months. So, this came out through Avalon Studios. I don't know if technically this is a Wildstorm book, to be honest, now that I'm looking at this. It may not be, but we'll go with it anyway because it is Whilce. But I am trying to stick to Wildstorm. I believe Avalon might be Brian Haberlin Studios, so I could be off on this. It was a recommendation, and it sounded exciting because this actually kind of slipped past me. I definitely have the comics, but at the time I was starting to my career was starting to accelerate, and so I didn't really have the opportunity to enjoy these other than just to glance at them. A lot of my collection is like that. So this is going to be cool. It's Brian Haberlin wrote this. Whilce Portacio penciled it. We have Jerry Alaguelin, rest in peace, on inks, and I think Dan Kemp on colors. And this came out in 1999. There's two volumes. There's a volume one, which is 4 issues, and then a volume two, which I had never seen. I don't have any of that today, but I definitely want to pursue those. I could see these books picking up some steam here after these videos in terms of back issues. So if you can locate them, check them out. So beautiful cover. It doesn't seem to have credit. I'm assuming that this is Whilce and Jerry. Really nice, actually. The inks are great on this, and the drawing is very cool. Obviously when you think of Whilce, you think of X Factor if you're a Wildstorm fan, and this is kind of cool too. Check this out, Mark Silvestri cover. I honestly, I didn't realize it was Mark, and then when I opened it, I was like, whoa, Silvestri. It's kind of cool. This is a chunky piece. And Danny Mickey inks. Maybe that's what threw me off the trail, is I don't necessarily think of Danny Mickey and Silvestri as a pair up. That's pretty coul though. Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun drawing right now. I'm in a flow. I'm doing a page every day. Pencils and inks, by the way. And it's fun. I'm feeling confident. It's interesting though. I'll just do a quick sidebar on this. Is a little bit of a tip for people. Look, when you're penciling, the one thing I remember Aaron Weisenfeld saying this to me, and it was a long time ago, but it stayed with me. But I was asking him about missing deadlines because he was notorious for being pretty slow, and I have mentioned in several videos talking about Wildstorm that my group, I'm from the beginning of the third generation, possibly end of the second wave of artists that came in. I would consider myself the beginning of the third wave, to be honest. We weren't allowed to miss deadlines and be slow. I mean, it was very clear and presented to us that the problems that they had with the earlier waves of artists was not going to be something that we were going to get away with. But I'd become friends with Aaron. We hung out, I asked him one time, I think he was working on Deathblow Wolverine at the time, or maybe there was Wildstorm spotlight issues with Deathblow kind of driving the car. And I go, how do you handle the pressure of like missing a deadline? Because I couldn't even fathom it at the time. And he said it's really difficult, but essentially what he said is that his confidence was so important to him drawing, and what I found has given me confidence in drawing is not stopping. I cannot take a break. I wouldn't take a day off right now if my life depended on it, because it's I've talked about this before. I had so many failures trying to learn to pencil, and so many frustrations, and so many times where I wouldn't draw for like 16 months. And not because of procrastination, but just I would get busy. I would like ink Chris Bachalo for 2 years and then not draw for 2 years. Or when I was inking David Finch, I worked with Finch for 3 years. I just didn't pencil during that time. There was no time to do it. We were working on monthly books. It was very demanding stuff. But yeah, like once you get some momentum going and you're drawing, whether or not you feel confident with it, you actually are building confidence and sort of experience, and man, that is important. So breaks are no bueno. So all right, let's get into this. Blah blah blah. But like I said, I know that aspiring artists kind of gravitate towards my channel and my conversations. So yeah, no breaks right now, friends. Don't do it. Haberlin Words, Whilce Portacio, Jerry Algren, Dan Kemp. All right, let's get into this. John Rochelle, I don't know who that is. And look, Francis Takanaga. He wrote a book for Wildstorm. Siege? What was it called? I inked a couple of pages of it. Man, I can't remember. We'll look into it. There. Oh, sorry, we're at the back of the book. Let's go this way. Sorry. All right. Whoa, trippy. So Haberlin is a bit of a mad scientist. This is the one thing that I've noticed with Brian. I know him not real well, but he's a very friendly guy. He's very creative and he loves technology, and so this kind of has like a Dave McKean vibe to me. But yeah, Haberlin's kind of like a mad scientist with the way that he creates art. It's a lot of digital techniques, traditional, and you can see he's using mixed media here. But this is really wild. I would assume that this maybe wasn't put together by Whilce. It may have been. But anyway, so let's get into the next page. Here's some Whilce. Oh, wow. Man, the inks are great on this. This looks really good. I actually like the lettering quite a bit, too. It's interesting because you know, I don't know if a year or so ago I would have been so, like, noticing lettering. But as I'm penciling more, I've become much more particular, and I think my my view of comics has become more whole, meaning that I really take it all in. Where with inking, sometimes you're very technique focused. In fact, I'm going to do a video today for Patreon about inking. It's going to be a short video, but I'm actually going to talk about sort of the thought process behind it. So, because I think coming from someone who was an inker who didn't really pencil comic stuff, I can relate to some of the struggles that people get. So, well, a lot of times Whilce's monster designs and stuff like that, they're very extreme, but I know that he's really into like Filipino folklore and a lot of mythology and stuff like that, and so a lot of times these characters, I'm not saying that these are in particular, but he does base them on sort of, you know, that kind of thing, which is interesting because it's, I don't know if you know, an American comic book fan would pick up on that, but you know, it's like the haunted spirit with the soul and the missing, you know, abdomen and things like that. So it's a little kind of cool thing. He does. Yeah, these almost look like little trolls. This is really nice. It's funny. I remember having these, like I would keep a long box under my desk at work, and I would keep like the comics that I thought looked somewhat cool kind of in there, and then they would slowly just kind of make their way back home or to my house. Yeah, I remember having Stone in there for a little while. So I always liked Whilce's stuff so much, and although I didn't have time to read the story because I was so busy with my own work, I always thought that these were pretty cool. Yeah, these monsters are crazy. Whilce is an amazing teacher. I mean, he's gone down to the Philippines a couple of times and actually done like schools for comics. Oh, this is nice. But just as a person, if you ever get the opportunity to meet Whilce, and he's not super busy like at a show, he's actually very nurturing and very helpful and super insightful. Like I always enjoyed talking to him. He came back to Wildstorm. So when I first got hired at Wildstorm, Whilce was there, but I didn't see him a lot, and I didn't know him obviously. And I didn't really, the first couple of years I was there, I mean, I didn't really know Jim, I didn't know Whilce and or Scott Williams, and I never really bothered them. You know, it was like kind of stayed in my division. You know, it's like I was just an intern, and then I was a beginning inker and stuff like that. And these are, you know, legitimate, you know, artists. But then Whilce left for a few years, and he came back maybe in 2007 to Wildstorm, and actually was working at the studio every day. And I got to know him then, and he was great to talk to. I mean, I had said in another video, possibly I did a Whilce video about a week or two ago. You know, when I would go to talk to Whilce, I would literally just go like, all right, it's 10:30. I'll probably get out of his office by like noon, and he would just talk about art and explain things to me, and it was really interesting. I almost wish I would have recorded those conversations because I could use them now more. It's like I never got the momentum going back then. As I did ink Whilce for about 2 years. Around that time, we did Superman, Batman, we did Wetworks, and Batman Confidential. See, we did about 2 years worth of work together. It was very, very cool. I like this guy's nude in the chair, and yet it's a little towel over the naughty bits. This actually looks like Whilce. This is Whilce at home. He's like, hold my calls. I'm busy right now, guys. Yeah, this looks totally like Whilce. Whoa. All right, let's see here. We're gonna do 2 books today, so I'm gonna try to go a little bit faster. So this is one of his crazy monster things. Whoa, but what is going on? This is crazy. Who knew? Booty. Booty. That's a nice shoe. It actually is. Lighting little shoes and stuff like that, it can be tricky. I still haven't completely nailed down my aesthetic for shoes. That's another thing. If you're getting into penciling, eventually, you can kind of, first year or so, give yourself a little pass on fashion and stuff like that, because there's so much to juggle just drawing in general. But as you get better, you have to start picking things like, what kind of shoes would my villain wear? What cut of jacket is this person, their stock in life, like what are they going to wear, what hairstyles. It's a lot of stuff. But again, when you're the first year or so that you're actually drawing comic book stuff, I would just try to do the best that you can and then slowly incorporate that, because it's hard enough to learn to draw. See, this looks like Whilce too. Everyone's Whilce. Look at this guy. He's so good with anatomy. I love the way that he draws like these big figures and stuff like that. It's very, very cool. And Whilce was pretty instrumental in helping Laniil Yu. I would assume that people know that, but Laniil was definitely kind of like a protege of Whilce's, and maybe other artists too. I don't know the whole list of them, but definitely Laniil. And I'm sure Jerry was very instrumental in helping Laniil too. This is nice. Yeah, really interesting seeing this. Really, really interesting. I don't remember any of these pages at all. And some great suggestions. We keep recommending Wildstorm books. I know it's a little confusing, and some people have just been recommending image books. And again, I think this falls slightly out of our category. But I didn't realize that, and I had already kind of mentally prepared for this. This is really nice drawings, actually. We did a little bit of stuff like this in Wetworks. It's funny, there was some monsters that actually had a little bit of this vibe, like kind of a horse-headed thing. Again, and this could be something from Filipino folklore. It would not surprise me at all. Man, that's really cool. It's crazy because this almost could be a face on its own. So, grab a color. But yeah, this could almost be a character just on its own, even though the eye is somewhere probably back here. Oh, this is classic Whilce. Whilce is so good with rubble and stuff like this. And I talked about he's really does a lot of these type of shots. You'll see this quite often in Whilce's work. A down shot with small figures, usually very sparse elements around it, a little bit of detail on the ground plane, and it's a theme that he goes back to again and again. It's very effective. I'm not saying that Whilce created it, but it's definitely something that I consider a Whilce approach to things. And again, I mentioned that early in Jay Lee's career, you could kind of see it happening. Some of the Namor stuff, he would use it, and maybe Wildcats trilogy, or I don't think on Strike File he did. Might have been on Namor. I remember a couple of shots. Whilce is the lighting guy. When we looked at Scott Clark, we saw some of these lighting cues and stuff like that. Whilce does crosshatch. sometimes quite a bit. But yeah, he also casts quite heavy shadows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-panel page. Man, I don't get a lot of those right now. It was funny because I had mentioned in a few videos that a lot of the pages that I have to draw are 7 and 8 panels, and it just doesn't give you much room to do things. But I've tried to be pretty creative with it, and I kind of keep my eye on other work that I see when I see 7-panel pages that actually look pretty roomy, or something's kind of big on it, you know. Can kind of make a mental note where it's like, oh, okay, I could use space like this, or maybe if you can make a few panels smaller, you know, if it's not a real key moment, then that can buy you some space elsewhere on the page. But yeah, you kind of have to allocate your real estate. I'm really curious to see volume 2. This looks pretty kinky. I don't know what's going on here, but this is some wild stuff. More rocks, which are always cool. Stone, come back. That's what he said. Just like that. Anyone read the series? What did you think of it? And then also, like, I think I was about to say it, but definitely recommend more books. So some artists that I thought of that worked at Wildstorm that maybe people have forgotten, or you know what I mean, like, just it wouldn't be your first thoughts of Wildstorm things. But we've got Gene Ha, J.H. Williams, Chris Sprouse. Who were some of the other ones? There was, I all of a sudden I thought of like a big chunk of books, and I was like, oh man, there's all kinds of stuff to check out. This is pretty cool. It was really nice, very cartoony, but man, it's great. Oh, this is very classic Whilce too. Man, it's so good. We'll definitely pull up a Wetworks issue or two down the road, because I actually think once the series gets going, it gets pretty interesting. There's like issues 5, 6, 8, 9 around there, like the art, because they're working at a different pace, and that's a real interesting thing to see with these books too. Is kind of my joke is you have infinite amount of time to do your first issue of a book, and you have 1 month to do the follow-up. So first issues usually are the strongest, and then it's like, if you really want to see what's going on, check out issue 3, because that's where like things start to, the wheels can come off. So it's always interesting to do that. Issue 1s are fun, but where you test the mettle of the artist is further into the series. Some elevate and some decline. I think I had mentioned it because I looked at issue 2 of the Grifter series that I did, and by issue 3, Mel's work actually changed a lot. It was clear that the schedule was starting to get to him, or his focus had drifted, because it didn't even really look like the same art. So I opted not to do issue 3. I mean, I could always do it. I don't care. But yeah, it didn't seem to have the same style. It looked way more like less intense. So I had speculated that the first issue he may have had a more time to work on it, and based on what I saw as the issues went along, I would say that I was right. I never really knew him, so I don't think I've even ever met him. This is nice. Really, really cool right here too, actually. It's a great shot. And again, this is a long first issue. Oh man, that's so cool. Jeez, that's so creepy. This is a great panel too. Man, I love that. This is spooky. And this is really, really cool. Oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, so let's look at issue 2. We can shut that. File open. Okay, let's grab these. See what we got going on. Don't peek. Don't peek. I'm putting my hand over the screen like it's going to affect you. It only affects me. I actually don't want to be surprised, though, myself. I do prefer to actually kind of be surprised with these things. All right, so let's see what we got. So, Whilce Portacio and a Scott Williams cover. Okay, so we're going to bring it. This is Image. It's just not necessarily a Wildstorm book, but the classic team up of Scott and Whilce. Scott was inking everybody. When I first started collecting comics, I swear it was like he was inking Silvestri, Whilce, and Jim. And even popped up in Pitt. It's like, who is this superhuman person? And yeah, that went on for like a year or so. He did have some assistance, at least at some point. But boy, I'll tell you what, he was a hard worker, that's for sure. Let's see if there's a variant cover. So this is Janet Cleto. I'm not really feeling this piece, to be honest. It's a little, I don't know, just doesn't really. Based on issue 1, it doesn't really capture the spirit of the book very much for me. But what do I know? This looks like the darkness. This could be Jackie. Jackie going to the club. He's going to a fetish club to dance with his friends. Alright, so what do we got here? Uh-oh. Already seeing multiple inkers coming in. I'm not a fan of that. No disrespect to these guys, but I'm just saying in general. Someone had asked me about another artist, and I was like, I don't like to see 5 inkers on their work in comics. I think that it wrecks the flow of the story, but I understand the reality of what goes on too, is books need to get out the door. But I'd like to see one team on a book. Again, these are probably put together by Haberlin, I'm gonna guess. Some pretty cool, like, again, very kind of Dave McKean vibe to all this. Thank you, Malware Bites. Okay. Alright. AOL. Illuminati. Could it be? Is this what it is? Is AOL watching? Interesting. 1999. I didn't even have a home computer then. I got mine like a year later. Like I think I got my first computer in 99 or 2000 at home. Some nice drawings. A nice sketchbook of Whilce would be cool. Okay, so here we're going back to this character. Man, Whilce does this great. This is so cool. I want to say that Whilce did some Spawn stuff, right? I don't know if I've seen it a lot, but I believe that maybe he did some Spawn issues somewhere in there. Maybe a mini series. Someday I hope to do something for Todd McFarlane. I would totally do like a one shot or something of Spawn. I'm not at a level to do it right now, but another year or two. Once I finish Crystal Planet, I mentioned this before, so I'm knocking out Crystal Planet like just ASAP. So I'm focused on that right now, and then I'm going to get back on Blaster Kid. I've got 90, by the end of the day today or early tomorrow, I have 90 pages of Crystal Planet left, but I'm basically doing a page just about every day. I'm able to do 5 pages of pencils and inks in 8 days, but that includes getting my layouts onto the big board. You know, there's a little bit of what do we call it, like from you know, your thumbnail to getting it on the like big board. It takes me about a day to do all. I try to do 5 pages a week, but it takes me about a day to get the 5 pages from my thumbnail like this, and then tighter pencils, and then I can knock out about a page each day so far. I had a page that I thought was going to be easy day before yesterday. It was car driving down the freeway, and then you would keep cutting to inside the car. It took longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be an easy page. It ended up, I don't know for what reason, whatever reason. It's weird. Like the top panel on a page, this seems to take a lot of time. I don't know if it's because it's the first one I'm doing of the day, but it's a weird thing. But even here, you can see he has a little bit more detail in that, you know? And then I think as your day rolls on, you're like, all right, how can I get this to look cool? And, you know, it depends on your schedule. But yeah, so I should be done with Crystal Planet in about 18 weeks. Which seems like a long time, but then I won't have any other distractions. I'm not doing any more of it. I'm not taking any other side work. So it'll be done. And the good news is that I didn't have to go back into inking, because DC had offered me a couple of books and I passed on them. And that would have been like 10 months worth of more inking, and that was bad news. That's what we didn't want from me, so. What's up, Kitty? Why are you coming over? You looking at the Whilce stuff? This is so classic Whilce too. Love this. Sorry, sometimes I drift off topic thinking aloud, but these are pretty casual videos generally when I do them, you know. I'm no K-Fab, apparently. Let's see. Yeah, these guys are weird. He drew this in Wetworks, or something really, really similar. There was a cover that we did that had all kinds of little creatures like this. You know, would have been really interesting to actually see Marc Silvestri do an issue of this, like after Whilce had done like 4 issues, to see Marc draw one book of this. I'm a little worried about Marc's Batman book. I don't know what's going on with that thing that he's been working on for years, but it's like there's, I don't know, shouldn't be taking this long. I know it's detailed, but I don't know. I just don't picture him working on it. That's the thing, is I don't. Like it would be done by now if he was working on it. I know he had eye surgery, so maybe his eyes aren't up to snuff. But yeah, that's probably one of the main books that I've been looking forward to the last couple of years. Is I'm curious to see that. I think it'll be fun. I'm hoping it's a big book too. I would love to see 100 pages of Marc penciling and inking himself, and that, I don't know, we'll call it the Bernie Wrightson style painting in very, very broad strokes, but it looks good, man. It looks really cool. We could just call it the Silvestri pen and ink style. Man, it's so crazy how he lights this stuff. It looks so good. Again, really, really fantastic inks. And you know what? Credit to all the inkers. So far, it's been pretty seamless in terms of style. So I like that. I haven't seen a page where I went like, oh man, this is definitely not up to the same level of inks as other stuff. So that's always a good sign. What's funny too, and this is the honest to God truth, I don't even like doing fill-in pages in other books because of my distaste for multiple inkers on a book. DC finally figured out that after years, but they would always hit me up and be like, blah 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 is late, do you want to do some pages? And I'm like, nope. They can clean up their own mess. If you take a job, you do it, and that's my opinion. A very, very hard line on that. I have done fill-in pages, and I generally regret it because it's rushed. Your work doesn't look as good because it's all fucked up, and yeah, I don't find it very satisfying. I don't like to see a comic book that I've done like 3 pages in, and then there's 6 other inkers. It's just not my thing. If I take a job, I do it and get it done, for better or worse. This is really cool. I love these little fairies. Man, he could do a great fantasy book. This is like, man, I've never seen Whilce do stuff like this. Like these little, that's really cool. Man, that's really nice. This is cool. This is a pretty nice shot too. Again, it's similar to the one that I showed you that was like this. But what he's doing here is, and this is another thing that Whilce will do, is it's the room where everything is going like this. But what's neat is you'll have people walking in that are standing this way. But then anyone that's over here is actually, you're looking above them. I think it's a really fun idea, you know. I've a long time ago I had attempted it on some sample pages, and I really wasn't good enough at perspective to kind of do it. It's like I would lose it somewhere in there, but yeah, it's definitely something that I want to explore. So I think that they're just really fun shots. It's one of my favorite things about comics is artists that can use perspective well. I think it's just a really, like, it just creates that depth on the page, you know. This guy's cool. I have some interesting characters coming up in I think the third issue of Crystal Planet that I'm actually really looking forward to drawing. There's an old man that I get a design, but he's kind of like a wizard sort of dude. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, it's like I keep thinking about him. It's like the wizard in the jail cell. That guy's gonna be fun to draw. Crystal Planet gets really good. The last three issues are going to be so fun to draw, and it's kind of nice because I'll have about 55 pages under my belt at that point. So my experience and confidence and stuff like that should be pretty good. But yeah, I think it actually worked out well because I had to draw so much hard stuff in the first two issues and things that I wasn't comfortable with. That once I get to really settle into actual Crystal Planet type material, and not real world stuff, it's going to be a lot of fun because it's kind of really what I prefer to draw is fantasy and superheroes and sci-fi, you know, not so much offices and that kind of shit. More sexy times. This is The Cell, right? The Cell influenced everybody back in that day. Ryan Benjamin used it. I saw it in a few different books. Man, what is going on? I actually need to go. I wouldn't mind going back and revisiting The Cell. Kelsey brought up The Cell, actually, in fact, a few weeks ago. I won't say more, but, yeah. That's cool. I really like this. This is really good. This looks a little like different inks. Not a lot, but it's a little more gritty. This could be Jerry. These look like Jerry's inks. No, you know, this could be Weems. This might be Weems. Weems has always got, like, his stuff is ballsy, man. Yeah, Weems is like, whew. Nobody inks like Weems, in my opinion. No one. Bat is more slick and has very nice, beautiful tapered lines. And Joe is like beast mode. Yes, this is cool. I love the way that he lights. It's almost like Whilce in his mind can see three-dimensionally, and he really understands how to send a light over things. Because if you look at this, just as form, let me do this really quick. You know, these are like three-dimensional shapes. He's hitting it so nicely, like. You know, these top planes are all... This is a shoulder blade. It sticks out a little bit, so he just hits it with a little bit of light. And this elbow is sticking out a little, so it gets a little light, you know? It's really, really well done. And then the little folds that are catching light are top planes, you know? It's really beautifully done. And you can see here the top of the arm is getting the light. But yeah, it's like he can put like a little flashlight above it, or it could be a big light when he really wants to light something brightly. So that's the other thing that you need to think of. And the thing is you could do a little tea light thing where like imagine if I put a little tiny light like right here, and it's going to hit just a little bit of this. But the strength of this light will determine how far it goes. So you can kind of play with those ideas. It might be a slightly intermediate to advanced idea, but that is how you light stuff, you know. But you have to understand the forms. That's the key. So, all right, we're going to wrap this up. I got a couple of reviews to do, and then I'm going to get working. Got a double page spread that's finally on Crystal Planet that I'm drawing, so it's fun. It's like, oh my god, I get to draw like people in costumes. Let's go. This is what you've been waiting for. There's more and more of it coming. All right, so there we go. Interesting. This book the second issue was definitely a little bit shorter. All right, you guys have a great day. Please keep recommending things. I think the next book that I'm going to do from Wildstorm is Crimson. Someone recommended Crimson. I haven't looked at Crimson in forever. I think it'll be really fun. I mean, you know, those were important books for those artists. J. Scott Campbell, Joe Madureira, and Umberto. When they launched Cliffhanger, obviously, some people will know that Chris Bachalo, about a year later, we did Steampunk. But the original three core titles of Cliffhanger were those three books, Crimson, Danger Girl, and Battle Chasers. And, you know, those guys were a big deal, and those books were a big deal. And I'm sure that they were really trying to flex the best art that they can. So we'll look at Crimson number 1 and 2, and we'll see how it goes. And those are inked by my good friend Sandra Hope. who today, I apparently on Twitter, it's Sandra Hope Appreciation Day. So I was seeing a lot of things that Sandra had inked. I first knew her work. Well, this is, I'll throw this in right at the end. Or no, you know what? I'll save it for the next video. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. I love you all. And thank you for supporting my channel. Please hit the like if you can. And all right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.